The door to my apartment slammed open with such force that I nearly spilled coffee all over my keyboard. There stood Ellie, my best friend since college, wearing a dress I'd never seen before and an expression of pure panic. "Do I look okay?" she asked breathlessly. "I have a date." I took one look at her, beautiful, nervous, and completely oblivious to how amazing she was, and something inside me broke and mended all at once. "I bet I can make you stay right here," I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. 10 years of friendship, and suddenly everything was about to change. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Maya, and I share stories from my life that taught me something valuable. This one's special to me, and I think it might resonate with many of you too. If you enjoy it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this one. Now, let's dive back in. I met Ellie during freshman orientation. She was this vibrant, laughing girl with wild curly hair who somehow made everyone around her feel special. I was the opposite, quiet, reserved, always planning 10 steps ahead. We shouldn't have clicked, but we did, instantly. Maybe it was because we both had dreams bigger than the small towns we'd escaped from, or maybe it was just one of those unexplainable connections that life occasionally gifts you. We became inseparable through college, studying together, crying over breakups, celebrating victories. After graduation, when most friend groups scattered to the winds, we both landed jobs in Boston and decided to live in neighboring apartments. It was perfect. She dated occasionally, I dated rarely, and our friendship remained the constant in both our lives. Until that night. The night she stood in my doorway in that blue dress that matched her eyes perfectly, asking if she looked okay for her date with some guy named Christopher she'd met at a coffee shop. "What do you mean, stay here?" she asked, confusion clouding her features. Her hand still gripped the doorframe, caught between leaving and staying. I set my coffee down slowly, buying time. What did I mean? The words had escaped without permission, carrying years of unacknowledged feelings with them. I don't think this guy deserves you," I said lamely. Ellie laughed, the tension breaking slightly. "You say that about everyone I date, James." "Because it's always true," I replied, standing up from my desk. "Remember Mark who forgot his wallet on 3 consecutive dates? Or Tyler who kept calling you Emily?" She rolled her eyes but smiled. "Christopher seems different." "They all seem different at first," I said, moving toward the kitchen. "I made your favorite pasta. The one with the sun-dried tomatoes and that fancy cheese you like. It's still warm." Ellie hesitated, glancing at her watch. "I shouldn't. I'm already running late." 10 minutes won't kill him," I said, already pulling out 2 plates. "If he's worth anything, he'll wait." She sighed but closed the door behind her and kicked off her heels. Small victory. As we ate, I kept making her laugh with stories from work, reminding her of inside jokes, doing everything I could to make the minutes stretch. I wasn't proud of myself, but I couldn't stop. Something about this date felt different, more threatening somehow. "This is delicious," she said, twirling pasta around her fork, "but I really should go. It's rude to be this late." "One episode of that baking show you love," I countered. "The one where they all cry over bread." She laughed again. "You hate that show." "I hate the show, but I love watching you watch it," I admitted, and something in my tone made her look at me more carefully. "James," she said slowly, "what's going on?" The moment stretched between us, fragile and dangerous. I could lie, make a joke, steer us back to safer ground. Or I could tell the truth and risk everything. "I don't want you to go on this date," I said finally, my voice quiet but steady. "Why not?" she asked, setting down her fork. "Because I'm in love with you," I said. "I think I have been since orientation when you laughed at my terrible joke about calculus. And every day since then, I've found new reasons to love you more." The silence that followed was deafening. Ellie stared at me, her expression unreadable. Then she stood up abruptly, grabbing her purse. "I can't do this right now," she said, her voice shaking. "I need to think." And then she was gone, the door closing behind her with a soft click that somehow hurt more than if she'd slammed it. I didn't sleep that night. I paced, I checked my phone obsessively, I drafted and deleted 100 messages. By morning, I was convinced I'd destroyed the most important relationship in my life. 3 days passed with no word from Ellie. I went to work, came home, stared at walls. On the 4th day, I broke and texted her, "I'm sorry. Can we talk?" No response. On the 5th day, I left a voicemail, "Ellie, please. I miss my best friend. We can forget what I said. I just want things back the way they were." Nothing. A week after my confession, I was sitting on my couch at 11 p.m., mindlessly watching a documentary about penguins, when someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find Ellie, in sweatpants and a faded t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. "Hi," she said simply. "Hi," I replied, my heart hammering in my chest. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside, and she walked past me, her familiar perfume making my chest ache. She sat on the couch, and I sat on the opposite end, giving her space. "The date was terrible," she said finally. "Christopher talked about himself for 2 hours straight. He didn't ask me a single question about myself." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded. "And the whole time," she continued, "I kept thinking about what you said. About being in love with me. About finding new reasons every day." She turned to face me fully. "Why didn't you ever tell me before?" I shrugged helplessly. "I was scared. You're the most important person in my life, Ellie. I couldn't risk losing you." "But you almost did anyway," she pointed out. "By not telling me." "I know," I admitted. "It wasn't my finest moment." She was quiet for a long time, studying my face. Then she said, "I need you to understand something. I'm not upset that you have feelings for me. I'm upset that you waited 10 years to tell me, and then chose to do it by trying to sabotage my date." I winced. "That's fair. And I'm upset," she continued, "because I've spent the last week wondering if I've been blind this whole time. If I missed something obvious. If I've been hurting you without realizing it." "You haven't," I assured her quickly. "Ellie, being your friend has been the greatest joy of my life. Even if that's all we ever are, it's enough." She scooted closer to me on the couch. "What if I told you I've thought about it too? About us being more than friends?" My heart stopped. "Have you?" She nodded slowly. "Not in the same way, maybe. Not for as long. But there have been moments, when you remember exactly how I like my coffee, or when you call me at exactly the right time when I'm having a bad day, or when you look at me like I'm the most fascinating person you've ever met, when I've wondered what it would be like." Hope bloomed in my chest, but I tried to keep it contained. "And what did you decide?" "I decided I was too scared to risk our friendship," she said with a small smile. "Sound familiar?" I couldn't help but laugh. "We're quite a pair, aren't we?" "We always have been," she agreed. Then, more seriously, "I can't promise you anything, James. I don't know if I feel exactly what you feel. But I think I'd like to find out. If you're willing to be patient with me." I reached for her hand, and she let me take it. "I've waited 10 years, I said. I think I can manage a little longer." She smiled then, a real smile that reached her eyes, and something settled in my chest. Whatever happened next, whether we became something more or found our way back to friendship, we would face it together, as we always had. The next few months were a delicate dance of discovery. We went on actual dates, holding hands across restaurant tables and kissing goodnight at doors. We talked for hours about our fears and hopes, relearning each other in this new context. There were awkward moments and perfect ones, times when the shift from friendship to romance felt seamless and times when it felt impossible. 3 months in, we hit our first major obstacle. Ellie got offered her dream job, in Chicago. She came to my apartment, eyes bright with excitement as she told me about the opportunity, then dimming as she realized what it meant for us. "I have to take it," she said, her voice small. "Of course you do," I replied immediately. "This is what you've been working toward for years." "But what about us?" she asked. "We just found each other, and now." I took her hands in mine. "Ellie, listen to me. I didn't fall in love with you because it was convenient. I fell in love with you because you're brilliant and ambitious and kind. Taking this job is exactly who you are, and that's who I love." "Long distance rarely works," she said, tears forming in her eyes. "Maybe for other people," I agreed. "But we're not other people. We're us. And we've never done anything the conventional way." She laughed through her tears. "That's true. So you'll go to Chicago and be amazing," I said firmly. "And I'll be here, loving you from a distance until we figure out the next step." "You make it sound so simple," she said. "It won't be," I admitted. "But nothing worth having ever is." The next year was hard. We saw each other once a month, taking turns visiting. We had video calls every night, sometimes falling asleep with our laptops open beside us. We fought occasionally, about time zones and missed calls and the fundamental unfairness of being apart. But we also grew, both individually and together. Ellie thrived in her new role, gaining confidence and recognition. I took risks in my own career that I might not have taken without her encouragement from afar. And then, on our 1-year anniversary, I flew to Chicago with a ring and a question. I took her to the lake at sunset, got down on one knee, and asked her to marry me. She said yes immediately, then laughed and cried and kissed me until we were both breathless. "I have something to tell you too," she said when we finally pulled apart. "I got offered a promotion. Back in Boston." I stared at her in disbelief. "Are you serious? When?" "Last week," she admitted. "I was waiting for the right moment to tell you." "And you're taking it?" I asked, hardly daring to hope. She nodded, her smile radiant. "Turns out, I missed home. And by home, I mean you." We were married 6 months later in a small ceremony with our closest friends and family. During our vows, I reminded her of that night she came to my door in the blue dress, asking if she looked okay for her date. "You looked beautiful," I told her. "You always do. But I'm so glad you stayed with me instead." She squeezed my hands and replied, "Best decision I ever made." Life isn't perfect. We still argue sometimes, still have to work through challenges. But every night, I get to fall asleep next to my best friend, and every morning, I wake up to find new reasons to love her. So that's our story. It taught me that sometimes the greatest risks lead to the greatest rewards, and that love doesn't always arrive in the way you expect it to. Sometimes it's been right beside you all along, just waiting for you to be brave enough to recognize it. Thank you all for watching until the end. If this story touched you in any way, please hit that like button and subscribe for more. And remember, whether it's love, friendship, or pursuing your dreams, the things that scare us the most are often the things most worth doing. Until next time, this is Maya, signing off.